How do we remain competitive in a down economy? And we do that by not raising prices, building relationships, and we
get better at what
and we get better.
If you don't know how to do floors, get in there and learn.
Yep.
If you don't know how to clean carpet, get in there and learn. If you don't know how to clean windows, get in there and find someone to teach you. Whatever it might be, there's always a better way to do it.
Stop spending money, start saving money. Economic downturns can be challenging, but with the right strategies and mindset, you can not only survive, but also grow your business. In today's episode, we're tackling a crucial topic: how to keep your commercial cleaning business thriving in a struggling economy. Stay tuned as we share practical tips, real-life examples, and expert advice to help you navigate tough times and come out stronger. All right, so, we've been doing this a little bit.
Very serious topic today.
Yeah, and we've been through, as a company, we've been through the 90s, where there was an economic downturn. We've been through the Great Recession.
Yeah.
And
in the
2000s, 2009, whatever. I forget the exact
started
date. Yeah, 8. And then we've been through the highest inflationary period.
And COVID. Don't forget COVID.
And COVID. But
COVID took a hit on a lot of people.
Yeah, so COVID and the highest inflationary period over the last 4 years that we've seen.
And it keeps going.
In generations. So, and through all of that, we've grown. So there's definitely this is a great topic, and there are specific strategies that we've used over those periods of time, a lot of which are making pretty significant pivots, and paying attention to the market and what they need. And I'm going to tell you too, before we even really get into this, some of it was just pure luck, specifically around COVID. But
yeah.
Well,
it was luck, but it was also
it was
prepared for way before that.
It was preparation, and it was a gamble. I'm not going to say luck. I mean, what is luck? Where opportunity and preparation meet.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it did.
And that's what we were able to do. But anyway, so let's jump into some of these topics, because I think this is, like you said, this is a pretty serious topic. So what steps are necessary to protect businesses from a failing economy? And I'm going to stay within our industry. Let's stay within our industry, because I don't know
and
other businesses.
We have the benefit of just leaving a luncheon with a very big customer of ours.
Yep.
And I don't want to say failing economy with this, because our economy is not technically failing, but the inflation makes it more difficult.
Yeah.
Like it's in the inflation on, how much you have to pay people by the hour and how that's going up, and how do we offset that? And are we brave enough to say, hey, look, we're going to have to offset that. We can't take that hit.
Yeah.
Because a lot of companies would just do that. Like, I don't want to have the conversation. I'm just happy that we still have money coming in.
Right. And I'm going to say, I'm not an economist, even close. I would never even, say that I'm paying attention to what's going on with the economy other than how it's impacting our business. But I get the feeling that the way the economy is right now we're in some sort of depression or recession of sorts because of inflation and because of and we don't even know what it's going to look like this next time around, because I don't think when the rent comes due, because it's going to at some point, is it going to be like it was in the Great Recession? Is it going to be a Great Depression of the 30s, or is it going to be just like a minor downturn? Because that's what's being said right now is like, well, hey, it's not that big of a deal. Like the unemployment is still really low, and household incomes are going up, but nobody can buy a house. But all of this stuff, it's something's not right. And ultimately what I would say is, like, the steps you need to take to protect your business is to secure your relationships. Like, and so you mentioned, like, we just had a luncheon with a large client. When someone comes to them and says, we need to cut costs, or we need to look at this budget in some way, shape, or form. If you're easily replaced,
if you're a line item on a piece of paper,
and you have no relationship, you've got a problem. So you need to secure the business that you have, and you secure the business strategically by identifying who your clients are, who are your highest profitable, most profitable accounts, and you go and you secure it. You go and talk to them. You work with them. You have a consistent visitation schedule. You solve problems. You're in constant sale mode. You're constantly working with them to make sure that they're okay and improving the overall quality of service. That would be the first thing I would say. The other thing is stop spending money when you don't have to. Like that's something I see a lot of people when they've had some success is, especially new entrepreneurs and business owners. Well, I deserve it. You got to love that thing. I deserve it. Do you? Do you? Because really who we are as business owners is we're stewards. We're the shepherds to our flock, right? Like what our job is to take care of ourselves so that we can take care of our flock, but not to, go run off to Bora Bora while the flock
roll around doing whatever they want.
Or decide you're gonna go by an Escalade and say, hey, just keep up. We need to manage our expenses and live well below what is needed and expected. As a quality of life is a quality of life, because you don't know. So have a nest egg, have some money set aside because there's going to come a time where you're going to need to pull on that. And if you don't have it, then you're going to become a victim of the economy. Because we've seen you mentioned COVID, right? Cleaning companies really, really, really struggled in COVID, in part because of the client makeup that they had, right? A lot of Class A buildings or offices, car dealerships, places that were not deemed essential.
Yeah.
But they also struggled because they didn't have a nest egg, or they didn't use government programs to get money, because they didn't plan ahead, those kind of things. But really it boils down to you've got to have enough money in the bank or access to those funds that you're able to weather storms before while you're trying to make this pivot. So, stop spending money, start saving money. That would be another thing that I would say you need to do to protect yourself. And these are all like, Matt, I know this already. Like, this is common sense. Yeah, I know, but you're not doing it. So,
and then I would think other things is like Matt's talking about COVID, and I think a lot of it has to do with what he was talking about is electrostatic disinfection, which everybody knows what that is right now.
Yes.
About 4 years before COVID was even a thing, that's when ESD first came out. And I remember sitting with hospital CEOs explaining to them what it was and why you need it and why the service is something that you're going to need. And 5 out of 6 of them would look at me like, what? I haven't even heard of this. So they're looking at their infection prevention person saying, what is this? And they're like, well, I don't really know what it is. And so we were using that early on, but that's because we were always working hard at finding what's next. We want to be the best at what we do. And like, enough's not enough. Good enough's not good enough.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like with everything we offer, when it comes to anything from carpet cleaning to pressure washing to whatever it might be, there's always a better way to do it. There's always a way where we could be the industry leader in XYZ because we are going to figure it out. I don't expect one of my employees just to go like, oh, go figure out the best way to do that. You know what they're going to do? This is the best way. We've been doing it this way forever. Let's go hire this guy. Find the best way to do things and test them. Like, okay, that's going to work.
Well, and I think that you kind of spurred some thoughts in my head when you were saying this, is that if you're innovative, not gimmick, like following gimmicks, because there's a big difference between those. That if you have somebody come in and like, oh, let me show you this really cool dust mop, or let me show you this like new dusting tool, or this great vacuum, and they're gimmicks, like they're not going to last. Versus having things that you're looking at, like we have to be super efficient to be able to make money. I can tell you that being in a down economy and not having a lot to work with has created a great deal of efficiencies within our systems.
Yeah,
because we've had no choice. We're like, look, most people in a down economy in any industry, what do the big boys do? The big boys come in and they're like, oh, opportunity. And frankly, in any down economy, the wealthy are, it's feast time for the wealthy. And big companies who have a lot of money, behind them, they come in and they just go to the bottom of the barrel, low price everybody and get market share. Like that's what their strategy is. So when you go into a bad economy, you see the big companies that are coming in and undercutting all of your prices. And if you've lived through the economy and you're a contractor, and you know exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, for us, it was looking at like, how do we remain competitive in a down economy? And we do that by not raising prices, building relationships, and we
get better at what we do.
We get better. I mean, that's ultimately what it is like we have to get better and more efficient at what we're doing. And COVID did that, and now this inflation has created this where like we have to get better and be more efficient in our service, levels, or we're not going to be able to compete because the big boys are going to take advantage of it. And they're going to come in and say, oh, look, they can't do it, but we'll do it for 10% less or 15% less because they're willing to lose money for 3 years.
Yeah. And then they'll go back at it and be like, we need to raise you 20%.
And then they raise them 20%. Oh, hey, look, we did this for you during the bad economy. Let me show you. So their strategies are completely different than most small businesses.
But they have that nest egg.
But they have the nest egg. So,
they can afford to take that hit.
You've really got to look at how you're going to handle this. This is chess, not checkers, right? For you, you don't have a bunch of money sitting around just, being able to buy business for 3 years until the economy improves. You're going to have to figure out a way to build the relationships and build efficiencies, create, be better. Just be better. Sounds easy, but it's not. So what are some great ways to diversify your business to maintain and increase revenue? Well, this is good.
With us, it's so much more than cleaning.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, cleaning is something that we can do. If you don't know how to do floors, get in there and learn.
Yep.
If you don't know how to clean carpet, get in there and learn. If you don't know how to clean windows, get in there and find someone to teach you. Find out things that everyone else is doing or knows how to do and figure it out and do it.
Yeah. And this is also one of those ways, going back to the first question about how to protect your business. Not only is it an additional revenue stream, but if you're not able to do floor care, carpet care, windows, pressure washing, parking lot sweeping, guess what? There's going to be a company that can do those things that also does janitorial.
Yeah, and we have business right now from COVID, us going in and doing electrostatic disinfection, that after COVID, they're like, why don't we just have you guys come in? You already have keys. You're in here already. We know we like your customer service. We like everything that you guys do. Just do our janitorial, and those other companies are gone.
Yeah. And so these are things that you really need to be able to, and it's not even, it's, yes, diversify, but it's having a full spectrum offer, and respecting the work that needs to be done, because this is what a lot of folks do. You're hearing it right now and you're saying, oh, well, then I just need to offer floors and carpets.
I can hire some guy.
I can hire some guy to do that, but you really need to be great at those things. Like, you can't just be like, I'm a good janitor and I'm going to learn how to do floors and carpets and I'm going to have you pay me while I'm learning. Like, you need to know how to do this stuff, because it's a mistake if you think that janitors can do floors, because they're not the same. Mm-mm. They're not the same people, or do windows or do whatever. And there is a significant investment in equipment that I think scares people away. So then they try to buy cheap stuff off of like Craigslist or OfferUp or something like that. You have to invest in it, and then learn it, and then practice it. And you might even have to give away a few floor services. And right now is the time. I mean, if you're going to do it, the economy is going to go into the dumps. I mean, chances are, I've been saying for the last couple of years that something's going to happen, and I've been wrong because I'm not an economist. But it's going to happen. I mean, at some point, it's going to happen.
Enough's going to be enough.
The housing market can't continue to be this way. People need to be able to get into housing. I mean, there's a lot of things that have to change. Prices can't continue to be this high. So, we need to prepare now and assume that in the next 5 years, we're going to see a downturn.
So I would say you can get really good at everything that has to do with cleaning, not janitorial. Yes, that's going to be your bread and butter. It's going to keep your doors open.
That's contracts.
You're cleaning contracts. So be very efficient in what you're doing, have a system, have everybody trained the same way. That's where you need to start. And then don't have anyone else in your building unless you can't help it.
And you need to look at your current contract base, right? And say, okay, what's the mix? If if we have $100,000 a month worth of business, probably 10%, you could say now, if you have no additional services, that 10% of your monthly billing, if you were really working on going after it, should be the specialty services work. Like, I would say easy.
That's easy.
And
10%'s not much.
And in the early days, it's going to be a lot more than that. And then as you start to build those into contracts, it's going to be 10, 15%. And these are existing clients. Like, you don't have to go out and get more. You just go work with the ones you've got and sell them with additional services. But you got to know what you're doing.
Find people that know how to do it, and that'll teach you.
Yeah.
You can call me.
Price increases and adjustments. When should you ask for them? Well, you should ask for them every year. And because here's the issue with this, and Greg and I were having a conversation with a client the other day, I think just yesterday. That was this morning.
Yeah.
It was this morning. This client has about 100 and some thousand worth of business, and they have monthly, and they have clients that have not had increases.
It's a 60.
They
had to have something.
It's been 10 years for some. It's been 5 years for others, but 5 years right now is significant.
That's a lot.
Because you can drop that number into the Bureau of Labor Statistics calculator.
It's probably 40%.
It's at least 30. Right, so it's 25 to 30% on it.
Then you add the 10-year mark to it,
and you're talking about significant inflationary increases. And if you're not in the habit of doing 3% increases a year on average years, then when you have these huge 10, double digits inflation for like 21, 22, 23,
you're way behind.
You're never going to get there. Because they'll find somebody who's going to lowball them, and they're just going to go with it because they can't swallow a 30% increase. Yep. So you should be doing it consistently, and you should be doing it with a plan. So if you, for example, sign a contract in April of 2023, you're going to be visiting that customer through account management, depending on the size, as much as once a week, sometimes once a month, maybe once a quarter. But about 90 days before the renewal date, you're going to go in and say, okay, this is everything we know. This is what's happening. We're coming up on renewal. Do you want to change anything? Do you want to add anything? And then you're going to bring to them no later than 30 days before the renewal and say, this is what we came up with, and here's our increase, and they would sign it off. Now, not every client is going to have a face-to-face meeting. Some clients are going to be you're going to send an email to them and say, hey, this is what's going on. Here's the information. Other clients, you might just send a letter out in an invoice and say, effective this month, this is what it is. It just depends on the scale or the number, like if it's an A, B, or C account.
Yeah, if it's larger, you better do a face-to-face.
If it's larger, you need to go face-to-face.
3% of $100,000 is something they'll feel.
Yeah,
3% of $300, they're probably not going to feel that.
No. And people are pretty reasonable when it comes to price increases. But they're very unreasonable when you haven't given them one in 5 years. So
we've dealt with that.
If you fall into that category, which we have, you really have to be sensitive to the increase and get into a new habit of doing that every year, because if you don't, you're going to be right back at that uncomfortable conversation in 5 years. So,
or just be happy not making the money you should.
When it comes to adjustments, adjustments to contracts, clients ask for a bunch of stuff.
We've had big clients come to us and say, can you lower it by 5%?
Lowering it, or they're asking for you to do things for them that they think should just be included in the contract. But it's not. And so you need to go to them and say, yeah, well, we can do that, but here's the price. Because if you don't, you do it one time and you give it to them for nothing, then they're going to want it every time for everything. So,
which is justified.
So you really need to build professional habits with them. And so price increases and adjustments is all about having a plan and being consistent in implementation. We've already kind of talked about this one, but inflation, what does it mean for me? And how can I stay ahead of its effects? Well,
first of all, get educated. Find out how it's going to affect you in wherever part of the country or the world you're in.
So get
like
out.
We're in California. Inflation means it's huge to us because we do a lot of medical, and there's a bill that's out where we have to pay our medical people starting next month $20 an hour.
Yeah.
So if you're a housekeeper, you're getting $20 an hour, whether the patient's there or not.
Yeah.
So that's huge for us. But that may not affect you where you're at, but something else may affect you. Well, you can't use this cleaning product anymore, whatever it might be. So, find out, get educated. It's out there.
Well, and go beyond, the headline, in a news story.
Yeah.
And really read into, like, what's the impact that inflation has. And I think for a lot of folks who may be listening or watching this now, they're a mom and pop company, and how they're feeling inflation is, going out to eat or
gas,
or fuel or home prices or whatever. And all of that is accurate. But the moment that you have to hire an employee, you're going to really understand it, because what you see now as minimum wage in your town, your city, your state, that's not what it is. Like, it's going to be significantly higher than what minimum wage is posted no
matter where you're at.
on a state website, because labor inflation is real. Now, there are parts of the country that I've talked to some folks that it really hasn't impacted them as much.
But they're still paying $2 to $3 more than minimum.
Some are paying I was surprised some are paying 25 cents more, per hour than minimum wage. It's not a market that we're familiar with, but really what it means to you is that you need to plan ahead, and you need to be thinking about how you are bidding jobs, not just for you, but how you're bidding jobs for your future. Because if you're a mom and pop company right now and you're like, well, this is what it would cost for us to do this job, you're looking at it in the wrong way. You need to be looking at it and saying, what is it going to cost for me to hire 2 people and staff this job?
That's how your bid should go over anyway.
It should be.
It should be like that anyway. You're going to be like, oh, well, we could probably do it for $500 because I make $15 an hour working at the Walmart, and it takes me 4 hours, so 15 times 4, no, that's not how it works.
No. And
so if you want more of that, I would definitely say dive into Matt's YouTube video where it at least teaches you how to bid.
Yeah.
Because that's what these people are getting anyway, so they might as well be paying that.
Right.
Something else we didn't talk about is the diversifying of the business.
Well, we talked about adding floor care,
exactly,
care and things like that.
I think what for us, we talked about a great example is COVID. We had so many, for us, we really didn't get affected a whole lot. We had a couple education places that stayed with us for a long time and then said, look, can we just lower the service levels? But really, we saw other companies that all we do is car dealerships. Well, guess what? Car dealerships ain't selling cars, goodbye.
Exactly.
Or, all we do is banks, or all we do is this, and then something happens to that industry, and then they're getting hurt. You got to diversify a little bit, and we learned that too.
2008.
In 2008 is we can't be in just strictly, let's say, Class A buildings, and that's where a lot of the things we're doing now is Class A. People don't have to work in a building anymore.
No.
So if you're going just after the high-rise buildings, good luck. Because pretty soon you're not going to need those. People will work from home. You have to lease less space.
Yeah.
Amazon's doing that now. When you're calling someone on Amazon, they're at their house.
Yeah.
So that's where we decided, what are some things that people are always going to need?
Well, at least in the foreseeable future, and that would be medical and education.
Education. You're always going to need a dentist. You're always going to need that kind of stuff, and really, we'll take the other stuff.
Yeah,
right.
Sure.
We'll take that mix. We'll take the manufacturer distribution. We'll take all that.
But there should be a good 80-20, mix on that. And that's the, but even, you look at what technology is doing, and really, you should be a nerd and paying attention to what's happening in our world, because, COVID accelerated a lot of things in a very short period of time. So the death of the mall was already marching towards its death well before 2020.
Oh yeah.
Now malls are completely shuttered, or the majority of their stores are, because people are not buying at malls. Now there is some things that are starting to come about where they're changing the way malls are, and they're more experiential type of that places like go-kart tracks and things like that. And they're using the space the way they should, the way that they
but they're just using it as space.
They're just using it as space. So it's not, but retail is as we know it, is dead and dying. And to your point, pay attention to what's happening with office, workers. This generation does not want to go to an office 5 days a week.
And why should they? I'm going to pay $5 a gallon of gas
to
go to an office building to work over there to pay another to drive back home when I could just do this at home. You want to watch me on my webcam? That's fine. I don't care. Watch me work.
Yeah. Well, and really, if you think about it, there's a lot of different ways that people look at these things. But, if you're having to drive an hour to work and an hour home, you're on the road for 2 hours. I mean, by the time they get to work, are they really efficient? Or are they just like going to the restroom, getting their coffee, doing all this stuff? When that should be stuff they were doing at home, and they get to work and they get straight to work. Well, they're working from home. You could argue, okay, that
it does depend on the personality.
That hard workers are going to do it anyway. The whole point of this is that the pivots that have happened, 2008 pivoting over to medical and schooling, but looking at schooling now and in colleges, there's a lot of online courses. People don't have to go to school anymore. You can get your
but still
online.
The prestige of having the campus there,
I get it.
That's not going away.
But the point that I'm trying to make is that you've got to pay attention to what's happening, because the world is changing so fast.
And even car dealerships, you don't have to even go to a dealership anymore.
Well, dealerships are fighting to try to stay alive.
To
try to stay alive and keeping the Tesla model out. Keeping the Carvana model out.
Yeah, where you just go to the thing and here's your car.
And here's your car. I mean, but it makes sense. I would rather go buy from a machine, my computer screen, or go
whatever it is,
than to go and deal with a salesperson that I don't want to talk to. So, and I don't think I'm not unique in that. And I think that happens with a lot of folks. So go after the fish where the fish not only are now, but are going to be in 15 years. Because, if you're doing this just for a quick buck, you're in the wrong industry.
Yeah, go find yourself a battery plant to clean.
Well, exactly.
That's going to be there.
But, if you're looking for a quick buck.
Solar panels, maybe you're going to be there.
You chose poorly. Because janitorial is not the quick buck place to make money.
Not at all.
It takes a lot of work.
But really, the thing I would say the most, how do you succeed in a struggling economy? You just don't give up. Keep going.
Bingo.
Because we could have very easily said, you know what, dude, it's COVID. Let's close everything up. Let's keep what we can keep. Let's go down to that. But hell no.
Well, you remember March 15th.
I remember.
Right? I mean, it was not... it wasn't, oh, crap, everything's closed. What do we do? It was like, okay, how do we get our guys out to work tonight?
Yeah.
Like, how do we get everything to continue?
And then came the phone calls like, I need you guys to come and disinfect. I need you guys to do this. I need you guys to do that. Then it became the only people at the office were people in bunny suits going out to disinfect every day to keep everybody else open. And like Matt's saying, that wasn't by accident.
No. It was,
we discovered other ways to disinfect. But again, it was on the auspices of, okay, we learned in 2008 that we need to be in medical. Okay, now we need to be in medical. We need to be the front runners in medical. How do we do that? What do we need to learn?
Well, and for us, I mean, how many meetings have we sat in with epidemiologists and hospitals that said the superbug's coming?
Yeah.
The superbug's coming. Like, it's going to happen, and when it does, this is what it's going to look like. So we were fortunate because we were in those rooms. We had those conversations, and we were like, what do we need to do to prepare for this? And
I don't know. We had to disinfect like we always do.
Yeah, and we had the training. We had we knew what we needed to do, and so we were fortunate, and we pivoted during a time that was, an unprecedented economic issue. So for us, I would say that right now for me, I would say it's a very uncomfortable time because it's not good and it's not bad. It's like the inflation is crazy, but people are still spending money.
Yeah.
So it's like you're running a marathon standing still.
Yeah, people are still working. People are still, they're at the point now where like, oh, my unemployment ran out from COVID, so now I got to work.
Well, it kind of feels like we're in the Truman Show or something. Like, it's like everything's kind of happening,
but nothing's
it's all kind of like fabricated and inauthentic because you're not like you think you're doing well, but then you look at the inflationary costs and all these other stuff, and you're like, and so something's got to shift. And so what you've got to do is just be prepared for that. And diversification, having some money in reserves, and the big one, which is something it's one of our sayings, and it's part of our documentary, is whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
You got to do whatever it takes. So, all right, so here we go, going into the this or that today.
We got this or that, kind of it's a pretty deep conversation, so it's probably a good thing.
Okay, thank the Lord, because I was starting to get a little depressed about the economy and stuff. So make me feel better, Greg, please.
Would you rather have a permanent unibrow or no eyebrows at all? See, my wife says I have like the most like faintest eyebrows. She's like, you don't even have eyebrows.
I'm going to go with the unibrow.
I'm going with the unibrow too.
I'm not going without with no eyebrow.
I'm going to be like Battlestar Galactica. I don't know. I'm showing my age, but that's a bomb show if you want to watch it.
I just know that I could live with I wouldn't want one. Both of those options suck. But I'm going to go.
I can't roll with none.
I'm going to go with the unibrow.
I agree. Okay. Would you rather fight a kangaroo once? So one time you have to fight a kangaroo, probably the only time you get to fight it. Or have to look over your shoulder for a duck that wants to fight you for the rest of your life. I will beat the brakes off a duck. I'm going with a duck. I'm like, bet. I dare you, duck.
Well, let me just say, you said a koala bear.
No, a kangaroo.
A kangaroo. Oh.
I think a kangaroo can work you. Remember like in the cartoons with the boxing gloves?
Well, so I've actually been to...
You fought a kangaroo?
No, but they are unpredictable.
Well, yeah.
So I went to a little animal sanctuary place up in Paso, here in California, and they had kangaroos like rolling around.
So we can make this happen in real life.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I went up and
if you have 2,000 comments or likes, Matt will fight a kangaroo.
This thing was yoked, and it was like Olympic level, like weightlifter type of thing, and it's like coming like, oh, he's nice, he's friendly. And like you go up and you're like, hey, how you doing? And like the moment that he puts his tail down, like I told you, he put his tail down, you need to get out of the way because like and he's just gonna kick you right in the chest. And he did that. I mean, fortunately, I still have some reflexes.
Fear flexes is what they're called. Fear flexes.
And I took off, bro. But I've also been attacked by a goose before.
See, I'm thinking like the Aflac duck. We're having a duck.
I think that's a goose.
That's a duck.
It doesn't. They didn't say that you could kill the duck. Okay.
Well, what do you think it fights? Fight to the death, right?
That's not what. Okay, so I'm going to go with it. It's going to be with you for the rest of your life. I mean, you're going to be on a walker cruising, and this duck's going to attack you.
That could be problematic.
Totally. Like, give me one time getting kicked in the chest and knocked out. Like, I will lay down on the mat, bro. Like, I'm done.
I think I could take a bunch of ducks.
I'm going with the kangaroo.
Duck family.
I'm going with the kangaroo. I'm terrified of the kangaroo, but I'd rather fight a kangaroo than Mike Tyson. That's the next one. Would you rather fight a kangaroo or Mike Tyson?
Kangaroo all day.
Totally.
Mike will tear you up.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't even know what your name is.
And I just came up with that. I mean, that's not very good, but I mean, I just came up with it. All right, keep going.
Would you rather have a third eye or a third arm? The third arm would be very handy in a fight with a kangaroo.
You're right. You're right.
Be legit.
I guess I have questions.
Okay.
Where's the third eye going to be?
That's a good question.
Is it in the center of my head? Because then that's pointless. Is it in the back of my head?
The back of your head would be not for me. It wouldn't be good because I'm bald. For you could just like
I just thread a little bit of hair over it, but then you can't. You can do like
you can do the David Hasselhoff thing where it goes together and it's like a part, but in the back of your head.
Yeah, I've done that before, and I didn't have an eye in the back of my head.
Wow, when was that?
You probably were. You were terrifying. Yeah, I know. I'm going to go with a.
I'm going to go with a third arm. I'm just going to like put it down.
I'm going to do a third arm.
I can go with like a third arm.
Third arm.
You can give yourself high fives. Like
the eye is freaky, man. I can't do it.
Yeah, it'd be kind of weird.
Not saying that the arm isn't, but it's kind of freaky.
It could be third leg. It's totally different.
No, it's a totally different thing. All right.
Last one. Would you rather be able to control the weather, but only for 1 hour at a time, or be able to talk to animals, but they only tell you boring facts? So basically, it's like talking to Keenan, but they all the time. Like you can talk to animals, but all they tell you is like,
I'm going to control the weather for 1 hour at a time because I don't want to. Dude, I don't want to hear it. So I mean, I'm going to say I like people. But I don't want to hang out with somebody who's going to be telling me like, oh, hey, this is what I do. And they're like,
what if it's about paintball?
No.
I
don't want to talk to animals.
So I have like
that are boring.
My wife has a tortoise. And we have all these animals at the house and fish and all this other stuff.
You would never get any rest. They would be talking to you constantly.
It'd be like Ghost, that show.
Yeah.
Where she can see the ghost.
No.
I can go with the weather.
Yeah, the weather.
I'm going to go with the weather.
Because
then like as soon as you go outside, like your hair would be perfect. I'd be sitting at my desk and be like,
wind.
Can we have some snow and hail? Matt's on his way to his car.
Like,
we so could maybe
what?
You make people upset.
And if you're a golfer, you get good weather for an hour.
Just for an hour, though.
It's like it was 110. Now it's 76 degrees.
That'd be perfect.
That's what I'm talking about. All
right. So now's our other favorite part where we talk about questions from our viewers. And if you're a viewer, we really like your questions. And we really like reading your screen names because I don't know who makes these up. But
Well, this one is easy, though. You want to pick this one up?
Javier Medina, 6144. My biggest account is 5,000 square feet. And it takes me 20 minutes to dust mop, 40 minutes to vacuum the edges and other nooks, and about 35 minutes to mop. So total takes me 1.5 hours to fully clean 5,000 square feet wall to wall. I feel like I'm too slow, but I just don't know how to improve. I'm sure I can cut time on vacuuming, but I'm not sure where. 5,000 square feet.
I guess how
about restrooms? I got other questions.
I've got questions. I mean, how many restrooms, how many toilets, sinks, urinals, how many days a week is it? I mean, there's a lot of things that play into this efficient.
Is he by himself?
Yeah,
it seems like he's by himself.
So Javier,
it's not bad.
It's not. I mean, it's not. I mean, if you're cleaning alone and you're doing this, you're doing 2,500 square feet. Even a little more.
He's doing more than that.
He's doing more than that. So, I would say it's not.
They're saying 10,000 square feet an hour per, per specialty.
Yeah, there's so many.
Is about what it is.
There's so many factors that go into this. That
0.5.
Javier, I would, I would recommend you jump on one of our lives, and when you do that, we can answer some more specific questions. Because I think you're pretty close, but I have questions.
Get rid of your dust mop. Buy yourself a backpack vacuum.
True,
and then you're not doing your edges and other nooks. That'll probably save you some time.
Yeah, it depends on how big it is. We disagree on this, but
we disagreed until he had to sweep and dust mop, and now we agree.
Now we agree, right?
Yeah. Now we agree.
Well, I would still dust mop the big areas.
Yeah, big areas. I get it.
So Javier, join us for a live, and we'll dive deeper into this. All right, Warren Shuttleworth, 8427. Can you rent your equipment when you're starting out? Floor care equipment, yeah.
Floor care.
And you can get things at Home Depot. But
we're talking about totes and spray bottles, and then you can't rent any of that.
No, but floor equipment, sure, and air movers, things like that. Yes,
auto scrubbers,
maybe you can get those from like Sunbelt.
Let's say anything over $3,000.
Sure,
but you're not renting a vacuum or a cart or a rolling trash can.
No, you need to invest in that. MN Adema J. One, I mean, probably completely wrong.
I need another job.
No, not that.
Office space.
Minimum wage is in our province is $14 an hour. If I want to set a higher price, I can calculate the hourly rate as 14 times 1.5, which equals $21 an hour. Is that correct? It's a good starting point. I mean, we discussed that on some videos. I tell folks that's a great starting point is 50% over. But ultimately it makes no difference how much your overhead is if you're not efficient in your work. Because you're going to, you've got to test your time, get efficient, have the best equipment and chemical. And then
who are you hiring for?
Well, it's in their province. So I don't know what the situation is there economically at $14 an hour. My question, I think, to you would be: have you actually hired somebody, or is this something that you're just thinking minimum wage is? Because as I mentioned in a video that I recently did, is if you really want to know what minimum wage is, you need to go on Indeed and look up, what are other companies paying, because it's probably not minimum wage. I can guarantee that. All right. Anything you want to add to that?
No, I think it's a good idea.
Okay.
I don't see anyone hiring just at minimum wage, especially if that's what you're doing and you're setting up price.
And I would also say you need to go in at a blended rate, because you're going
to have to give somebody a raise eventually.
You're going to have to give someone a raise. So if it's $14 minimum wage, you're probably going to say, well, like in California, I have to give a scale. So if we're going to give a scale, it's 16 to 19. And of course, now people come in and say, well, then I want to get paid 19. It's like, that's great, but you're not going to. Because you don't have experience, but you have to have that scale in there. So then I would start at the 19 and I would add the 1.5, onto it. So You got to think about that. It's not just an easy, well, absolutely go for it. And then you are sending me a message later, or Greg a message saying you guys steered me the wrong direction. Start at a higher rate. The highest.
Yeah, I wouldn't start at the lowest rate.
Yeah, start at the highest rate you would pay and use that, and then benefit from the
I
product.
don't want to say blended rate of 24.
Yeah, well, exactly. I think $24 an hour is probably a better overall number for sure.
That leaves a little wiggle room for you to negotiate if you had to.
Yeah. So, all right. We want to thank everybody for watching or listening to this episode of the OctoClean podcast. And if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment with the topics you want to discuss next time. If you are listening, don't forget to rate and review the podcast. And we'll see you at the next episode.
We absolutely will.
Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
Bye, guys.